In season 3 of The Chosen, we meet a woman who has been suffering from a bleeding condition for 12 years. It has ruined her life. And she comes to Jesus hoping to be healed. And when she sees him, all she has to do is touch the hem of his garment, the tassels of his prayer shawl, and she's cured. Which begs the question, is there something special about these tassels? Could the woman have just touched Jesus anywhere? Could she have touched a different part of his robe? Or is there something important about his tassels that allows this woman to be healed? And if so, does that mean that these tassels should still be important for us as Christians? Well, if you'd like to find out the answers to those questions and more, then join me for this episode of The Chosen Explained. Now, before we start, if you're interested in learning more insights that will help you to understand the Bible more clearly and see it with an entirely new set of eyes, then make sure to click the link above and down in the description where you can download a free book I wrote called 10 Words That Will Change the Way You Read the Bible. It's a quick but powerful read that will teach you a whole lot in just a short period of time, just like this video. Speaking of, let's dive in. The practice of wearing tassels is something that arises long before Jesus. In the book of Numbers, God says, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, throughout the generations to come, you are to make tassels on the corners of your garments, with a blue cord on each tassel." Now, the Hebrew word for these tassels is tzitzit. They're part of a robe or a cloak called a tallit. And before the exile to Babylon, most Israelite men would have worn this as a regular part of their daily dress. But after they returned from exile, influenced by the fashions of Babylon, the tallit became primarily a prayer shawl. The tallit is rectangular in shape, and the tzitzit are attached to each of the 4 corners. Tzitzit are comprised of 8 threads, 7 white and 1 blue. So in total, 32 strands are attached to the tallit. Now, in Hebrew, numbers are important. Numbers like 40, 7, 3, etc. appear over and over again in the Bible, each signifying a different meaning. In fact, in Hebrew, words even have numerical values. And one of the words whose numerical value equals 32 is the word lev, the word for heart. And it is this association that begins to help us to understand the real meaning behind the tzitzit. But in order to truly understand this, we have to go back in time a little. You see, in order to truly understand the command that God gives the Israelite people through Moses in Numbers 15, the command to wear the tzitzit, you first have to understand something God said earlier, when God's relationship with the Israelites was just beginning. In Exodus 19, the Israelite people are standing at the base of Mount Sinai. God has brought them out of Egypt and is about to give them the law, the covenant that will guide their relationship forever. It's the law that will remind them of what God has done for them, keep them from following other gods, help them to be faithful and prosper in the land that God will give them. And before God even gives them the first word of that law, God says this, "You yourselves have seen what I did to Egypt, and how I bore you on eagle's wings, and I brought you to me. And now, if you will carefully listen to my voice and keep my covenant, you will be a treasured possession for me out of all the peoples. For all the earth is mine, but you will belong to me as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." Now, I want you to notice what God is saying here. God begins by saying, remember what I did for you. I did what no other God would do. I freed you from Egypt. You must always remember this. This is central to our relationship. And then God calls them a treasured possession. Now, this is typical language from that region during that time period when talking about a covenant between a God and a group of people. So God is making this clear. I freed you so that you could have this unique and special relationship with me. And then God outlines God's hopes for that relationship. God says, "You will belong to me as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." Do not miss this. You see, in Hebrew, a kingdom isn't just a geographical location. A kingdom represents the influence of the king. A kingdom encompasses everywhere that this king is obeyed, everywhere that his reign extends. And so God is saying, you will be my kingdom. Wherever you are, I will reign. Why? Because of what you will do and who you will be. You will be a kingdom of priests. You will be a people who obeys me and who teaches others to do the same. Every nation belongs to me, but I am choosing you to be my representatives. You will be the ones who reveal me to the world, who show them that all the other gods they believe in are weak and false. And because of you, my reign will extend to the ends of the earth. This is Israel's purpose. This is why they exist, which leads us back to the tzitzit. Because let's look again at what God said when God commanded them to wear these tassels. After God said, throughout the generations to come, you are to make tassels on the corners of your garments, with a blue cord on each tassel. God then said, you will have a tassel for you to look at and remember all the commands of Yahweh, and do them, and not follow after the unfaithfulness of your own heart and eyes, so that you will remember and do all my commandments, and you will be holy for your God. I am Yahweh your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Yahweh your God. In other words, you are to wear these tassels so that you will remember, so that you remember my law, so that you remember what it means, so that you remember why I gave it to you, so that you remember that I am the one who freed you from Egypt. In other words, so that you remember everything I told you in Exodus 19. Because you have a mission, right? I chose you for a purpose, and you must never forget that. These tassels aren't just to remind them to pray or to remind them of the law. These tassels are to remind them of who they are, of the mission that God has given them, of the reason that God chose them. And just in case there's any doubt here, I want you to notice one small detail here, something so quick and so strange we might even overlook it. God says that you are to make the tzitzit, these tassels, with one blue cord on each tassel. That seems random, doesn't it? Like, why a blue tassel? Why be so specific? Until you realize that the word for blue here, tekelet, is a color that God only commands people to wear one other time in Scripture. And do you want to guess what group God commands to wear blue? The priests. The blue thread on the tzitzit is a reminder to all Israelites that they are a kingdom of priests. They are a holy nation. This is who God created them to be, that because of them, God's reign might extend to the ends of the earth. This is the real significance of the woman touching the tzitzit on Jesus' tallit. The tzitzit doesn't have some sort of magical power. Their power comes from the one who wears the robe, the king of this kingdom of priests, the embodiment of the law, the leader of all Israel, the one who will redeem this woman and all of Israel, returning them to who God created them to be, to the mission that God has called them to do. At the time of Jesus, the people have forgotten this. Their tallit has become yet another article of religious clothing, its purpose reduced to another act of piety. They wear this reminder to reach the ends of the earth while intentionally rejecting those they've decided do not belong in this kingdom. The sick, the lost, the outsiders, the people like this woman. And Jesus has come to change that, to remind them that they have done nothing to earn this special relationship with God. The Lord chose them. The Lord freed them. This relationship isn't theirs to hoard, but to spread. And this miracle is supposed to be a huge reminder. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, if you haven't done so already, make sure to download my free book called 10 Words That Will Change the Way You Read the Bible. You can find a link up here or down in the description. And if you'd like to see another video that will change the way you see Scripture, then click this box right here. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.